you haven't thought about this in a while, but what do you like to do for fun? Maybe it's going to a restaurant or to the movies. Perhaps it's a concert or a museum or a festival. Or maybe you're a homebody and you just want to hang out, watch Netflix, or play video games. But what would you be doing with your time and your money if all of these things were not allowed? Get ready for this episode where we're going to be talking about the Amish and conservative Mennonites of Lancaster County who can't do any of that, and how they spend their money for fun. And we'll let you in on a little bit of how we're involved in making that happen. If you missed last week's episode, we talked about how me, an Italian American from New Jersey, married a rural Pennsylvania farm boy from the Mennonite culture, and how we've somehow made 28 years work within the culture of the conservative Mennonites and Amish. This episode, I want to talk to you about what it's like to share in an intimate level with these people by hosting, volunteering, and playing a part in the Hope for Haiti Benefit Auction of Northern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I've often asked my Amish and conservative neighbors, what do they do for fun? Many of them will answer me with things like, I really like to read in my spare time, or I like to garden, or to express myself through quilting. All of these things are allowed within the context of the daily life. But once a year, we participate in the Haiti auction, which brings together Amish, Mennonites of every make, model, and SKU number, as well as the local community, to raise money for education, a library, and a business training center down in Haiti. I think it's important to mention that the Amish and conservative Mennonites are not allowed to go to Haiti because it would require them to step on a plane and take a plane down to the island. Air travel is not allowed by these people who are baptized in the church. It's really a big responsibility for my husband and I, as founders of this group, as people who are working on an intimate level with the volunteers who are critical to making that money at that auction. That means they have to trust us with the information we give them about the poverty in Haiti, how Haiti does not have a nationwide education system for any grade level. That means that if you're going to go to kindergarten or 6th grade or 10th grade or college, you're going to pay for it. So that's the reason why it's so critical for us and our heart to help fill that gap with education and business trainings. So this group of people, these Amish and Mennonites, they can't get there. So they have to really believe in that cause and be willing to donate their time and talents to helping with volunteering. Now, my original question about what they like to do for fun. There is something that Amish and Mennonite people love to do, and that is to meet within their community at benefit auctions. Benefit auctions are a huge part of the culture here because they're allowed by their churches to attend these events. Really, it's a time of them to socialize, to network, to have friends and cousins and people who maybe don't go within their church group, but to hang out with them at the benefit auction. Keep in mind that the Amish and Mennonites don't really fraternize outside of their group very often. So the benefit auction is their opportunity to expand their worldview. In my case, it's helped me to understand their worldview too. I absolutely could not imagine what life could be like for me in not having the opportunity to jump on a plane and in 6 hours be in Portugal, where I'm going to live. I can't imagine not being able to hop on a plane and go down to Haiti. Side note, I've been to Haiti 79 times in 30 years, and because of the political unrest, I haven't yet been able to make my 80th trip. But I am ready to roll as soon as things get safe. My heart for my entire life has been the country of Haiti, and it's been so fun to see how the Amish and the Mennonites connect to that. So oftentimes what happens here is that the Amish will stay within their church community. They might have a benefit auction that's specific to their group, Or the more conservative Mennonites or the more liberal Mennonites might do their own thing in their own circles. And of course, up until recently, the outside community, people like me who are not born or raised in the Mennonite or Amish circles, they do their own thing when it comes to raising funds or doing public service things. What happens with our benefit auction is these groups of people are now connecting to each other, and they are working together. They're discussing life with each other. They're eating at the same tables. All of that is a relatively new phenomenon within these cloistered groups of people. They may live among other people, but they're not really fraternizing in the same way at a social event like the auction. I remember when we first started doing this auction, there were conservative people in the area that knew that my husband Scott and I was starting this thing. We were the founders. We were the ones who went to Haiti, came back and said, hey, there's a need here. Can you guys help? There were people who really said, this cannot work. This Italian girl from New Jersey is coming into our communities saying that there's this need in a country we can't even visit. How is it going to work that she and her Mennonite husband, who is not as conservative as we are, and then us, and what about the Amish? How can we all work together for the good? I'm really happy to say that we're able to put down our differences and really just focus on the fun of putting on the auction and the long-term benefits of doing this. It really is a phenomenal thing to be a part of. It's interesting with us getting ready to move to Portugal and still being a part of this executive board, of the sponsorship committee, of the day of stuff. I want you to visualize with me. Our executive board meetings happen in the basement of an old Water Amish couple's house. This means there's no electricity. We have battery-powered lanterns hanging from the ceiling of the basement. They have a candle lit in the bathroom, so when you have to go to the bathroom, it's literally lit by a scented candle. We're talking like just very, very plain surroundings. Beautiful. It's a beautiful house, by the way, but it is very plain in its aesthetic. And we meet in the basement of this guy's house. We plan on being involved in this even though we're moving to Portugal. But I want to explain the conundrum that we had in trying to stay connected. They don't have internet. So how in the world are we going to stay in contact with these people helping from 3,000 miles away in the country of Portugal? We have had to get kind of creative, so here's what we're doing. We found a volunteer who really enjoys technology. He is not from the Amish or Mennonite background, and he is physically going to go to all of the meetings with a laptop, a hotspot, boom mics, and little speakers, and he is going to patch us in from WhatsApp in Portugal. Now, granted, it's going to be like 12 midnight when we do these executive board meetings. So that's going to be interesting to see how coherent we are for like an in-depth executive board meeting from Portugal while they're all doing it here. And it's happening from an Amish man's basement. Like, is that weird or what? Somehow we keep solving the problems as they arise, and a lot of it is because we're dealing cross-culturally. Every time I get in that basement and I sit down with all of these very conservative people, I can't help but chuckle inside at how preposterous it must look to people who are from my background to be immersed in this very unique and traditionally cloistered community. I'm sure it must feel bizarre for them to be staying connected via a screen and a laptop in an old order Amish man's basement and having conversations with us remotely. This is not done in this community. You know, just weirdness all around. After 12 years of doing this, there is a sense of trust among this group, and I'm so glad for that, because without the trust, we wouldn't have these problems to solve. What is entertaining about a benefit auction, you may wonder? Well, not only is it high energy where there's an auctioneer and a clerk who's writing down all of the items and is documenting everything, it's high paced and people are bidding with their numbers, trying to get the best and the highest price for the item. They win it, they take it home, and the money goes to Haiti. Pretty simple concept, but it's just lots and lots of entertainment throughout the day by just watching people doing all of this bidding, winning and losing. The other thing that is super entertaining to watch is the sport of the Amish, which here in Lancaster County is spike ball. And it's mostly played by young Amish kids, like 15 to like 20 years old. It's kind of like volleyball with a small trampoline, 2 teams of 2 people. You're essentially trying to hit the ball on this net thing, and you have 3 shots to do it before the ball goes to the other team. And it is competitive, it is serious, and these kids will literally play for like 6 hours straight. It is incredible to watch. There's also a whole kids arena of all of these like really wholesome, non-tech related games. So we're talking about things like a baby swimming pool filled with corn kernels and little trucks, and the kids kind of use it like a sandbox. Or there's like games where like you try to like throw the ball and hit the bottle falls down, you win a little prize. And the kids love this. They literally will spend all day in the kids' tent area. Everyone's invited to this, the whole community, including non-Amish and Mennonites. But what's an interesting observation is that the non-conservative people, they'll come for an hour, they'll eat at the vast food court, say hello to a friend or two, and then they get out because it's a busy Saturday in May. But the Old Order Amish, the Old Order Mennonites stay all day. They are there when the auction prayer begins at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they literally spend all day until the last item is sold, usually around 2 or 3. Gratefully, many of them stay to just help clean up, because we're talking about approximately 2,000 people throughout that 6 or 7 hour period of time. We're talking chairs, big top tents, porta potties, portable sinks. We're talking about the immense amount of trash. We're talking about everything from the food tent to the food trucks to kids areas to 2 different locations of the auction. Then there's all the big items that get sold that have to be carted away. So you may be wondering, well, I'm wondering, what have I learned about working among this very unique group of people? How has that taught me something about embracing others throughout the world who might have a different way of doing things than I do? Although you wouldn't know it by looking at us relate to each other, I really do feel like I'm coming home to a family reunion. I even started hugging some of them recently, and they accept me for who I am, even with the hugging. Hugging is not like a thing among the plain community. They're more comfortable kind of shaking hands or just kind of a verbal greeting or a verbal goodbye. I have just learned how to just kind of let go a little bit more with them and trust that they will continue to accept me for all of my idiosyncrasies and differences from them. The other thing that I have learned from working with this group of people is how many amazing positives there are to this culture. I think sometimes people can look from an outside perspective and say, you know, these people are narrow-minded, these people are intolerant, these people are judging us on the outside and, you know, want nothing to do with us because we're pariahs. You know what? I can honestly say that I have not had that experience with these people. They value hard work, consistent hard work. Not hard work because there's a deadline, but hard work because it's a good way of life. They value timeliness, which in my Italian American family, you know, 6 o'clock for dinner at your aunt's house really just means 7, or to show up whenever within the hour of 6 and 7. And so time wasn't viewed the same way in my culture, but in the culture of the Amish and Mennonites, to be on time is to be respectful of the other person's time. I really have grown to value that in my own life and really have tried to get better about really being on time. One of the areas that I have learned about that can be both a blessing and a curse is the concept of letting your yes be yes and your no be no. The way that this plays out with the outside world, people who are not of this culture, may sound something like this. Maybe I'm meeting you for lunch, I'm 5 minutes late, and I say, oh my gosh, I was like in traffic for like 3 hours. Well, you know that I don't really mean that I was stuck in traffic for 3 hours. You know that that meant this is why she's 5 minutes late. She's 5 minutes late because she was stuck in traffic. And you won't take that 3-hour thing literally. One of the things I've had to learn is that you really shouldn't say that to an Amish or Mennonite because they will take you literally. I made many mistakes early on by saying, oh my gosh, it took us like 1,000,000 years to get here. And then I would be corrected. Well, did it really take you 1,000,000 years to get here? So I've really had to learn to be more intentional in the words that come out of my mouth. And if I say I am going to do something for you, I'd better do it. If I say I will bake that cake for you for the upcoming picnic that I'm going to, it can't be a store-bought cake. I really have to bake it. So I don't say that anymore because I don't bake. And if I did bake, it would be really gross and it would taste like baking soda or salt because I would put in the wrong thing. Baking is not my thing, guys. Fortunately, I live in the Amish country and everybody bakes here. So yay for that. So, I have learned a lot of things about the culture in which I'm living, the things that I really like about it. And of course, after almost 30 years of living in this, there are still things that frustrate me too. But I think it's important to say that these are human people. They're people who were born and raised and look at the world differently than I do. But that doesn't mean it's less valuable. It means that it's just different. From time to time, although I have lived in the Amish country for 30 years, all of a sudden I will be talking and some word that I am using makes me sound like I'm from New Jersey. And I don't know why, it just shows up in the conversation and all of a sudden it's like I never moved to Amish country. I have learned to make fun of myself, and the Amish and the Mennonites will join me in laughing at myself. And I really love that because that shows that I'm not taking myself too seriously. They're enjoying the comedy of watching that unfold and spill out of my mouth. Likewise, this year's auction, I had this funny situation happen where there were some tourists who came in to see the auction. They wanted to see what it was all about. We're talking fanny packs, fancy cameras, baseball hats that say, I love the Amish country. Like, you can't be screaming I'm a tourist more than that stuff, guys. I was sitting with a group of Old Water Mennonites. We were having lunch. And one of the guys says, look at this family over here. They must think that we are hillbillies. And everybody laughed and agreed. And I just loved that because I felt like they could laugh at themselves and say, you know what? One of these things is not like the other. It was a funny example of just being free within your own culture and being able to laugh at yourself. What am I going to take from these experiences and transport them with me to Portugal? Well, here's a couple of things that I've come up with. Number one, I don't really speak Portuguese yet, in part because I worked so hard on my Italian and lived for 6 months in Italy to get my dual citizenship. And I'm still having a hard time kind of transferring that language skill over. So I'm working on my Portuguese, but it's not great. I'm going to have to laugh at myself a little bit and say, you know what, my new Portuguese friend, I can't understand you all the time, but you need to know that I'm going to try. And I am going to give you my word that I will be working on this. And that's really combining those two scenarios. I'm going to be more sensitive to how the Portuguese view time. Do they view it as earlier, later, or right on time? And I want to use whatever they are doing as my metric. Not what I think, not what the Amish think, but what are the Portuguese doing? Because that really shows true respect for the culture in which I'm living. To be able to adapt to their way of doing things and to kind of laugh at myself in it as I learn. I think the final thing that I am going to be taking with me from this experience is just the security and significance of knowing who I am as a person. You cannot move to a foreign country where you don't know the language, the people, or the culture and not be able to laugh at yourself. I want to be confident in myself, the same way that In the setting with the Amish and Mennonites, I know I'm different. It's written all over the way I carry myself, the way I talk, get it? The way I talk, about the way that I embrace the world around me. All of these things are so critical to me taking them with me to Portugal. Hold on tight, because if you're looking for me to be really serious and be really, matter of fact about my experience as we move in the next month, you're probably not going to get that, because if I can't laugh at myself, nobody can. And if I can't take these skills that I've learned from living among such a different people group in our country, then what was it all for in the first place? As a final note of encouragement, guys, this week, try not to take yourself too seriously. Don't become overwhelmed with the concerns of the day or the week. Try to look and laugh at yourself. I mean, fast forward in a year, are you going to remember what you're so worked up about right now? Chances are probably not. So let's not take ourselves too seriously, shall we? Let's just enjoy the week. Let's laugh with our friends and family. Let's try to say I was wrong if you are wrong, or even if you're not wrong and somebody thinks you're wrong. Acknowledge that they might think you're wrong and say, you know what, I was wrong. Just give them the benefit of the doubt. Try to take yourself a little more lightly. And most of all, have the security and significance in who you are in this season of your life. You only live in your own shoes. So take care, and thanks for joining me.